Okay, perfect. So when you're doing hoods, you're going to do anywhere between 18 to 21 liters per minute, so that way the hood will be able to inflate. If you're going to do a face mask, then essentially with these guys, you would have one of these that's attached to one of the flow meters on the interior. And so when this guy is attached, it's literally you just
And that
fixate it on.
we're doing 8 to 10, right? You said.
You're going to do 8 to 10 liters with this guy.
So do they recommend a non-rebreather mask or a simple mask?
It's really up to you, but I mean these are just so inexpensive because a lot of the time this cost is passed on to the patient.
Right.
And then the same thing, you could just take a Ziploc bag, put this inside the bag, piece of masking tape, Jane Smith, and then this is her mask for throughout the entire treatment course. And
Well,
this
my thought is,
puts
we
right in
don't have
there.
them sitting all around here. This patient says, "This is yours. You bring it back when you come back tomorrow.
Absolutely.
If you don't bring it back tomorrow, we're going to charge you more for another one."
Absolutely, yep, and you're
That's my
right.
thought.
No, you're totally right. It's completely up to
It's
you.
yours. Here you go.
Yeah.
You paid for it. You bring it back. You don't bring
That's
it back,
right.
you're going to buy another one.
Right,
That's exactly.
Right.
And we're not storing them and, oh, who's Jane Doe and, oh, this didn't get put away. And
right.
Yeah, no.
that's just my thought.
I
Yeah,
agree
no,
with you. I
it's
totally
completely up to you because I mean I know that like for example like for one of the clinics that we used to have this guy right here and you take off this shelf and then these would literally be lined in here like that.
in alphabetical order.
In alphabet, yeah. So that's food for thought. But you could do whatever you want. You could say,
It depends on how
"This
many
is
patients
yours.
we end up
You
having.
take it home." And if you don't come back with it, now here's the other thing too, is that if they don't come back with this, but they're like, well, like I'm driving half an hour, 45 minutes one way, and I really, I don't have $100 to spend.
You could,
What you could do is you could have 8 liters a minute out of here just bleeding into the whole chamber. Because at 8 liters per minute, you're not going to have that oxygen building up. And especially when this valve hits off, the levels on the inside of the chamber in terms of CO2, nitrogen, and the oxygen they're going to drop drastically. And we've done tests, we've done spark tests, even with high liters of O2 breathing inside the chamber at high pressure, ensuring that there's not going to be any flash rate whatsoever.
so this hood gives you a higher chance of getting 100% oxygen, right? You're high flow,
Yes.
you've got to contain.
This is the best means of administering supplemental O2, absolutely.
So the mask, the simple mask without a non-rebreather bag, typically you can only get about 65% oxygen delivery through simple without that.
Yeah.
Are there must be calculations that are kind of saying, for certain diseases or certain recommendations that the hood really should be used, or are we supposed to be calculating out the?
I mean, it's really up to you in that fashion because I mean, in all sincerity, I mean they've seen results with just the air at higher pressures. So in addition, it's like I mean, even if they were to just have like, I wouldn't be too finite about it in terms of I mean the best means to administer that supplemental O2 is the hood, just because it's right here, you're breathing it, nose, mouth, and there's no escape because you have that neck seal. And it completely eliminates any chance of any oxygen pooling whatsoever because of the diaphragm on the interior. So, but at the same time, with that mask on, I mean, there's been a lot of recorded successes for a myriad of various conditions with just that non-rebreather.
The issues, in my opinion, have a lot to do with patient tolerance. So, in other words, this is claustrophobic already. You kind of sense that you're in this spot, and then you put something over your face, and some people just have more problems with it. And personally, I kind of think the hood seems more claustrophobic than the mask. So it just depends on how many.
You're right. It's
Not-
all.
not
Yeah.
me. Just for me, this right here freaks me out. If I had a big thing and at least my face was free of that,
Right.
all would be better.
Right.
That's just my
Sure.
my thing.
Yeah, and
So-
it's funny enough. I mean, because the number one patient population for the clinics that my bosses own and operated are autistic children.
Right.
And the first and foremost, a lot of these parents are like, my autistic child's never going to get in here. But then it's actually, well, ma'am, it's actually you won't get in there because it's really odd. The vast majority of these kids
Wanna get
jump
in.
right. They'll jump right in, and then the
Yeah.
mom's like, okay, let's go, let's do it. And so the kids will wear the hood. And a lot of the time you go and you put the hood on and you're like, okay, you're gonna be a little astronaut.
It's so
Exactly.
cool. Yeah,
And the kids
I get it.
they're right there.
Yep.
And
I get that.
the parent can get in with the kid.
Well, they should always, always.
And they don't need anything on, they can just sit in there.
They can just
That's
sit in there and just breathe the ambient air, because that's the thing too, is that, like, for example, there was a mom whose breast cancer markers went down when she was treating with her child. There was a guy whose arthritic pain subsided because he was going inside the chamber with his son.
Yeah.
Crohn's disease patients, they found that the inflammation in their gut went down.
There's a whole bunch of stuff on the blogs about inflammatory bowel disease. I talked to Chow about it this morning
Wow.
already.
Yeah.
Lindsay do this.
And so,
Well, because the one thing that I was going to suggest, just throwing it out there, to really get this out there in terms of starting that buzz, is that all of these firefighters are out here. They have thermal burns, they have smoke inhalation and CO poisoning. Treatment for that. My boss, what he does,
right.
he will go and he'll be like, "Oh, there's a fire, perfect." He'll call the chief and be like, "Get your guys down here. I'm going to treat them all for free."
Yeah.
And you don't even have to use the O2. You could just use the air at like 1.5 or 1.75.
Recovery from marathons so much faster, and right, the carbon monoxide or any of this smoke inhalation stuff really recovers them quicker.
Yeah. I mean, CO2.
Very cool idea.
Yeah.
Very cool
Acute CO poisoning and thermal burns are actually federally approved indications for hyperbarics, but only if you have a chamber like this.
Right.
And so in terms of billing to insurance for a thermal burn, that's where Michael Jackson made this famous, because of the Pepsi commercial burned him really bad. So he went inside a chamber that was all acrylic. And so, and then he actually started using our chamber, because when he sold Number 11, the ranch, and he moved into a billionaire's home, and the billionaire had 2 of our soft-sided chambers, and so and that's where Michael Jackson started treating inside our chambers many years ago.
So when you went through this last time, you didn't adjust this. You have to do flow with this, right?
So this
you
what
mentioned that.
So the best thing to do here is, so this is open. The best thing so the meter that should really be looked at are the interior ones.
Oh, so this is all the way open, because it didn't look like that it was
Right.
It was open when you ran through the
Right,
test.
right. So this is
You
open.
can't tell now because this is off. I got that.
So, but on the interior,
So
you
there's-
have two. You have
okay.
2 gauges on the interior, and where that hose is connected to right now, that's the only flow meter that should be adjusted. And Aubrey, she went and she took it up to 20 liters per minute for when you're going to be doing a hood, and so that.
I'll put it back down.
So that interior, in fact, here I'll turn on the O2 so you can see it. So you see how it's reading 20?
Yeah, you're gonna have to turn it. I put it back down.
Oh. So just
It's that one to the right.
turn it to the left.
And as soon as the very top of that goes to the 20, then it's up.
20 is where you want it most of the time?
Yeah,
For a hood.
for a hood. 8 to 10 for the mask.
Okay. And then the one on the left is for what?
So you have 2. So like, for example, if you're going to do a couples dive and you have a man and wife, whatever,
gotcha.
what have you, they both want to go inside, then you can, and you can both have masks. So like, for example, you have 2 of these.
That's good. You can do it at 9.
So you have 2 of these.
Yeah.
So you can stick both of those guys in there, and you can take out, your longer, hoses. Stick 2 of these guys in there, have 2 masks, and then now you have
2 hoods or not?
You can. You have this guy. Split it, but this is a splitter for the diaphragm. So you have 2. You have 2 of these guys, right? Or those white pieces that hang down.
Right.
Yeah, those right there. So those both would go to the hood, and then you have 2 more of these that would need to flow into that diaphragm. That's where this guy comes in, and it splits them.
So this is a pressure diaphragm. This doesn't have any like CO2
Right.
Scavengers or
Right.
anything like that.
Right.
Okay. This doesn't have a CO2 scavenger in it, right?
No.
Because there's exhale and so
Exactly.
it's supposed to leave, right?
Exactly.
All right. And do these need to be messed with at all inside, or are these like if a patient panics, they can let themselves out, or what?
Exactly. So right where you're touching,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that should be touched inside the chamber. In terms of, so like if there's an act of God, something happens, staff can't get through the door because there's an earthquake and.
Right.
And so they can get themselves out by by turning the air out, and so that air out, they can release the air from the inside.
So this is open.
Yep,
This is closed. correct?
exactly. Now say for example,
Now this one here is.
that's the air coming in.
Right. And this is just another filter, or
It's a
is it-
silencer,
it's
a muffler.
Okay.
So the air comes in and it's more tranquil in the interior. Now for example, say if like they can't get out because the air is still coming in from the air compressor, but they have that all the way open. They can close the air out or the air in
So
to
that
restrict
the door
any air,
will list.
so it'll open faster.
Very cool. What else?
And then you also, I included a couple hose extensions for a mask. So
Okay.
just in case if somebody's like larger patient or if they just want the ability to have more slack on that O line,
Right, sure,
then now
sure.
you have that as well.
Okay. Well, questions, anybody?